Salute BookTube. Welcome to my channel. Thank you for being here. It is Tuesday, another Tag Tuesday. Those of you who are regulars on my channel will know I took a long break. Well, not a very, I made it sound really long. It was a couple of weeks from BookTube because I was traveling. I came back with a tag video discussing, you can see in my last video was the confessions of a book collector tag. I thought I would continue in the same vein, a sort of tag video that would introduce myself to maybe those of you who are new, or just for you to get to know me a bit better. This tag I found appropriate. I saw a lot of my favorite booktubers doing it while I was on hiatus from BookTube, so I thought I would do it myself. It's called the Beyond the Bookshelf tag, and this was created again by Mike at Bibliophile Reads, tag creator extraordinaire. Thank you, Mike. I will link Mike's his channel below in the show notes. I wasn't tagged specifically by anybody on this video for this tag, but I thought I would do it anyway because I found some of the questions interesting. So let's just get into it. There's not that many, so hopefully this won't be a very long video. I mean, hopefully for you. Question number one: what is something you enjoy outside of books that people might not know about? For this, I would probably have to say tennis. Tennis, I was an avid tennis player. I started really young. I started, I don't know, when I was 6, 7, and I really caught on to the game. I just enjoyed it, and I continued to play. And I reached, I'm not gonna say I was amazing, but I reached quite a decent level. Let's just put it that way. And if I had focused a bit more, maybe maybe I could have done something with it. But really, teenage years. Tennis kind of reflects my reading. I started young and I was into it, and I was quite good. Just like books, I started at elementary school and I was really into it. And then during my teenage years, there was a big drop off, both in tennis and in books. I stopped reading books. And tennis, the problem with tennis is it's a very solo sport. You're alone on the tennis court. And when you're a teenager, and even after teenager, you want to fit in more. So tennis isn't really the best sport for fitting in because, again, you're alone. It's not a team sport. You would rather play team sports. At least that's the way I saw it. So the tennis sort of... I kind of trailed off. I picked it up much later. I re-picked it up, and it was good to know that I still have the basics from my my youth. But yeah, I still play. It's just, the trouble is finding partners. It's not easy to find a partner who is at the same level as you. That's the challenge with tennis. What I am seeing a lot of now is paddle tennis, which is a much smaller court, smaller racket. There's not really much of a serve, so it's much easier. Tennis, to get into tennis, it's not impossible to get into it as an adult and to improve, but it certainly helps if you learned young, because it's not an easy sport to play. So paddle has become very important. I think in America it's called pickleball. It's a bit different, but it's very similar to paddle in that it's a much smaller court and it's much easier to learn. It's much more democratic, while tennis is very aristocratic. It's very niche. Not everybody. I guess you need money to really get good at it, or to be, I don't know, a member of the tennis club. Anyway, it's a bit elitist. Let's put it that way. I know this is beyond the books, but I did want to show one book. I do from time to time pick up tennis books and read tennis books when I find something interesting. I found this book, and I thought I would just highlight it here. It's called High Strung. The subtitle is Bjorn Borg, John McEnroe, and the Untold Story of Tennis' Fiercest Rivalry. That's McEnroe and that's Bjorg. Bjorg was a Swedish tennis player, McEnroe American. And yeah, this book, although I haven't read it yet, it's a uh, big rivalry in the late 70s and then the early 80s. It's pretty much a 1970s story, a 1970s rivalry, tennis rivalry. It's got all the potential for a either like a movie or a comedy. You've got the 1970s hairstyles with the band, and there was a rivalry, and I mean you can see. Is there any? Yeah, you can see the type of you know the 1970s hairstyles. I find the 70s fascinating. Your long hair and long sideburns were very much acceptable, even among polite society. There's McEnroe. You can even see that the rackets were very different. They were all wooden, so it was, it was a different time. But this is the rivalry in the 70s. McEnroe is, I think, much more famous to Americans and maybe non-tennis players. He was very famous because he was an angry man when he was playing. He was known for always challenging the the empire's call. So if a ball, he hits a ball and the empire calls it out, he would argue, and he had a very, he was very potty mouthed. He swore a lot, and you can check it on YouTube. Just put John McEnroe arguments or whatever. Of course, now tennis is, with technology. McEnroe had a point. Sometimes the ball was in, it was called out, but it's in, and we've seen how much human error there is in tennis. When you see new tennis, it's got there's like a camera, and it's all you can, like, computers and sensors can tell you exactly if the ball is in or out. You don't even need the human eye to do it. It goes out and it beeps, and it's technology has helped, and somebody should do it. Somebody should look at McEnroe, all the balls that McEnroe challenged, because in the 70s they didn't have this technology, and see if it went in or out. And if it went in, check with technology to see if did McEnroe have a point when he used to cuss out the empires in tennis, etc. But anyway, this story climaxes in the 1981 U.S. Open finals. So maybe I haven't read this, but it just explaining it and looking at it and the photos, has a could have a movie potential, I guess. Anyway, let's go to question number 2, prompt number 2. What is one small thing that brings you happiness in everyday life? For this, I was gonna say, I think I'm gonna say my nephews. I've got 2 nephews. My sister has 2 boys, and I've grown very attached to them. They come and either they visit or I visit them, usually on a Sunday, on the weekend. I think they bring me the most happiness. I'm just, it's always fun. They're very young. They're getting older now. It's crazy how quickly they're growing. But I think they're 6 and 8 now. So although one of them is going to be 9 soon and the other is going to be 7, so they're growing. But I'd say that they bring the most happiness in everyday life for me. Question or prompt number 3. What is something you could talk about for hours besides books? Well, I mentioned tennis, and you saw me. I started on tennis, and I started to drag and yap and drag on and on and on. So tennis would be one. I think another one would be football. So I would stick to sports. I'm one of those guys, that can talk about sports. And football, when I say football, I mean soccer. Probably something I can talk about for a long time, for hours and hours. Although lately my passion for the game has really dropped. I mean, when I was younger, I used to watch full games. A full soccer game will take you about 2 hours. It's quite long. But of course, when I was younger, I used to, time was endless, so I used to watch a lot more. Now I've stopped watching. It's very time consuming. I'd rather use my time to do something a bit more constructive than watch sports. But I was more always into the outside the foot, the drama outside the football, the not just the game itself, the match. I was always very interested in, like the finances, or the transfers, players coming in and out, kind of the politics behind the football, I guess. I was always more interested in that than the actual game. Um, um, Actually, also have a book for this. This is by David Goldblatt, who it's a British author, and this book is very, very much British or English. You're going to see it from the title cover. It's called "The Game of Our Lives: The Meaning and Making of English Football." So this focuses on English football, but you can see, the game of our lives. It's really serious, serious in England, in Europe, South America, most of Asia, most of Africa. It's just North America where it's I guess hasn't caught on. Although women's soccer is quite big in North America, I guess more than men's. But that also changed. We saw the last World Cup just recently concluded was in the U.S. as well as Canada and Mexico, but mainly in the U.S. And that's probably going to inspire more Americans, young American children, to get into soccer, football. But like I said, I can talk for hours, you can see, but I've really cut down on football. I stopped following it. What's happened to football is it's become very corporate. It became so successful, and it's such a global sport. So if you can sell football, you've got a global market. I'm talking billion people in Africa, a billion people in China, crazy about soccer. A lot of Indians, maybe the Indian subcontinent a bit less, cricket is much bigger, but still a sizable amount. The Middle East is soccer mad, South America is soccer mad, so it's a huge market. And but with that has come corporate greed, and that's really destroyed the soul of the game, and it's become corporate. And we saw also in the World Cup, we saw corruption. There was a lot of corruption. I don't want to get into it, but I think anybody who watches soccer closely will know. Just FIFA, there's billions of dollars just slushing through FIFA, and it's just easy to steal, and corruption, and it's not the game it used to be. Anyway, I can talk for hours, but this video, we promised to make it short, so let us continue to prompt number 4. What is a skill or hobby you would love to learn someday? For this, I'd say languages. I'd like to pick up languages. If I had to choose a language that I'd love to learn right now, I would say Russian. I would love to be at least speak passable Russian. Maybe even read some of the Russian classics in Russian, but that would be, for me, that would be a skill I would love to learn. I think I'm not bad with languages. I'm lucky I speak 2 languages. I add French as a 3rd language, although my French is very basic. I have no place to practice. Maybe I should read in French, but yeah. So we can say 2.5 languages. But if I can add Russian, that would be a skill I would love to add, to learn someday. Prompt number 5. What is one thing you think everyone should experience at least once? For this, I'd say visit the Middle East. Right now is maybe not the best time. It's summer and it's extremely hot. Although it's near the end of August, it's still hot, and it's probably going to continue this way well into mid-September. It doesn't really cool down till October, but that's when the tourist season starts. In most of the Middle East, I'd say from October to about May, with the summer months cheaper but hotter. Now, that being said, October, the Middle East now, it really depends also on the geopolitical situation, the geostrategic situation, because there was a war earlier on and it affected most of the region. And the question is this war is there gonna be some kind of solution? If you read the news and you see what's happening, it doesn't look like there's gonna be any solution or any kind of compromise or any kind of agreement or truce or anything like that. The question then becomes, is the war going to restart? If it does restart, then no, don't visit the Middle East, and there won't be a Middle East. It'll probably go nuclear. We'll probably go nuclear. And if you add what's happening in Europe with Russia and Ukraine, and then there's now tensions in East Asia, it doesn't look good. So I would say if pray for peace, and then try to experience the Middle East. Where in the Middle East, there's plenty of countries you can choose from, but it's definitely something you should experience at least once in your life. Maybe Egypt if you like ancient, or well, Egypt is a good choice because you get ancient and you get medieval and you get modern, but there's many other countries, Morocco, Jordan, um, Lebanon. But again, uh, warmongering. What was I going to say? Warmongering. Um, Permitting. That was the word I was looking for. Anyway, let's go to question number 6. What is a movie or show you can rewatch at any time? Similarly, I used to watch movies when I was younger, like football, like tennis, when I was younger. And as I've gotten older, I've definitely become more of a reader, and again, time is more limited, so I prefer to read over watching movies or even watching shows. So I'm not a big movie buff. Um, I'm not a big show buff, so I don't know. But there are a few movies I would watch and rewatch. But I don't like to rewatch a lot. I like to do it, once in a blue moon. Space it out so that you really appreciate it. I guess any movie you watch, I don't care how good it is, if you watch it every day, or every other day for 6 months, you're gonna eventually get bored of it, I guess. Same with books, but a movie you're sure you can rewatch at any time. I don't want to not answer the question, but maybe Terminator 2. Terminator 2, Arnold Schwarzenegger at his peak, something brings back good memories of my boyhood. What is a drink, non-alcoholic, that you would suggest anyone try? That's prompt number 7, non-alcoholic drink. I guess you want to stay on the Middle Eastern theme. Again, those of you who are new on my channel, I am based in the Middle East. So maybe I can choose one Middle Eastern option and one Western option. Maybe the Middle Eastern option I would recommend is probably Arabic coffee. Coffee was pretty much discovered, I guess is the right word, introduced in this part of the world. So they're very particular about their coffee here in the Middle East. But Arabic coffee, it's a very bitter, it's cardamom infused coffee, and it's served in a very small cup. And you kind of drink it like a shot. But yeah, maybe you can try that. There's also Turkish coffee, it's a very bitter as well, and it's also served in a very tiny kind of cup. You have to hold it with 2 fingers, the cup holder. And it's very similar. The Middle East, the Mediterranean part of Eastern Europe, especially the closer you get to the Middle East, they all have the small espressos with the tiny cups, and it's cultural. Like that tiny cup, you can order like an espresso or a Turkish coffee or an Arabic coffee, and it's tiny, but you can sit for an hour, 2 hours, 3 hours with the same cup and just take tiny sips. And it's cafe culture, not something big you see in the US. In the US, the cafe culture is very much, order a Starbucks, take it to go, order it super large, to go, drive through, and it's huge, and you finish it in 5 minutes. While here, the tiny coffee cups, they can sit and talk about different subjects for hours. Anyway, it's an experience, something you should try. I said I would choose a Western drink. When I was in university, and I went to university in Canada, I discovered a thing called IBC root beer. It was excellent. I tried it and I fell in love with it. I couldn't stop. I drank 1 and I drank 2, and I must have drank like 7 or 8. I was like, where have you been all my life? And it's a root beer, but it's high sugar content root beer. It's got a lot of sugar, and that's why I liked it. Of course, I don't see it much here. Maybe you can order it, but this IBC root beer is an American. It was a very craft root beer from, I think, because I checked before doing this tag. I think it was from St. Louis, Missouri, or something. Excellent root beer. And I when I was doing the research, it seems that the Dr. Pepper company has purchased them, so they're not very craft anymore. Maybe they've gone commercial, but good root beer. And then 8. What is your perfect lazy day? Well, if it's not reading books, I like watching BookTube. I guess that's a lazy day. But what's the name of the tag again? Let me not spoil. Can I say BookTube or is it? Yeah, it's called Beyond the Books, Beyond the Bookshelf. So I guess I can't say BookTube, sitting and watching BookTube on a lazy day. Um, yeah, I mean, I guess waking up late, you know, not having to do your routine. You know, you can just relax. But I wouldn't want it to be lazy. I'd like to do something a bit active as well while I'm, you know, maybe eventually, you know, snap out of it. But yeah, just, you know, lay in bed. Again, I want to say read, but it can't be bookshelf. So maybe watch TV, you know, stay in my pajamas. No need to comb my hair, wash my feet, just relax. But anyway, that's, yeah, I guess that's it. Let's wrap it up. For me, this is a long video, but for me, this is considered short. So we'll wrap it up now. Thank you for watching this. Again, if you have a channel and you haven't done this tag and you want to consider yourself tagged, thank you, Mike, for creating this. I'm going to wrap it up. Salute, BookTube.